Well, indeed, the action is even starting from here this morning. We're going to be going straight to paper review for you. And joining us this morning is Mr. Nuruddin Abdallah, who is the editor of 21st Century Chronicle and former assistant editor at Daily Trust newspapers. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Oh, don't mind me and my team. We have a little thing going on about Lagos and Abuja, but hey, we're going to show them that Abuja is Abuja.
Yeah.
So let's start with this one this morning, looking at the Guardian newspaper for you. And they have this 2023 Obi quits PDP, eyes Labour NNPP tickets. That's the lead story this morning on the front page of The Guardian. PDP Northern Elders look to North Central for candidate, insist consensus is pathway to stability. Legal move to stop PDP presidential primary fails. APC chair hints on consensus peak for party's presidential flag bearer. So you find all of those stories. I mean, quite a number of them packed or stacked into one headline, if you like. But did we see this coming, this move by presidential aspirant, former Governor Peter Obi? Did you see this? Did you see him making this move at all?
Yes, particularly if you follow the social media. I think Mr. Peter Obi is one of the most celebrated aspirants, but mostly on Twitter. Yeah, he has been jetting around the country recently, you know, convincing delegates for their votes. But for him to suddenly leave a major opposition party to NNPP, and surprisingly, NNPP has already, like Senator Ozzy Ojokalo has said, has already a candidate, a presidential candidate, former Governor of Kano, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso.
I'm surprised that you said you saw this coming. I mean, how did you see this coming?
Look at the number of the aspirants in PDP. From afar, I'm not a delegate, but look at their chances.
They're quite a number, though.
Sure. And look at the chances. So unless if, for instance...
So you think he's calculated his chances and he's saying, no, this is not going to work?
Sure. But the most surprising of all of what he did actually is to go to a Labour Party.
Has he gone yet? I mean, this is just...
That is the permutations.
Yeah.
Or even on Twitter, for instance, his alliance with Rabi Kwankwaso. So is he going to pick is Rabi Kwankwaso going to hand over the NNPP presidential ticket to him? Or is he pairing with him as a running mate? To me, if he does that, for instance, you know, he was a running mate to Atiku on PDP in 2019. Now, it looks like a demotion because even the NNPP chances, I can say zero, but it's really insignificant compared to the political situation in the country.
Well, it's unclear, but as you rightly pointed out, he is popular at least on one major social media in Nigeria, and that's Twitter. I was reading through the comments, and there were quite a lot, I must tell you, from what I saw. At the time I joined that conversation, or looked through the conversation, they had over 2,500 comments at that time. By this morning, I do not know how many comments alone. I mean, that's not counting retweets or likes for that particular statement as was put out. And a lot of the comments had that they're going to be following him wherever he went. Do you think that he wants to really give a chance to people to see, you know, outside of the parties, what exactly his chances are like? I mean, we've seen people like President Muhammadu Buhari, who tried 4 times, and every time he ran, he always had a huge following. Do you think we could be seeing that sort of person in former Governor Peter Obi?
Yes, but unlike Buhari, you know, he ran 4 times before he was eventually elected. Peter Obi doesn't have the Buhari's constituency. His constituency, which is the social media, most of them don't vote. So, you know, all these Twitter likes, comments, mentioning hashtags and whatever, don't translate to votes during election.
That's your fear?
Yeah.
Because it could be changing. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah. And it's Nigeria. Anything can happen. But unlike Buhari, you know, Buhari has a block vote. At least the Northwest, Northeast, and some parts of the North Central in 2003, 27, 2011, and 2015. But in his own case, he doesn't have that block vote yet. But like we said, anything can happen in Nigeria.
Okay, let us not stay too long on that particular one, but there are a few more just underneath the nameplate here. Let's look at this one. Pretty disturbing. I know that, there are a few more riders I want to take there, but let's see this other headline. Abuja Kaduna train attack. Victims, families ask government to heed terrorist ultimatum. That is also a story on the front page of The Guardian this morning. We saw them yesterday holding a press briefing right here in the Federal Capital Territory. And it was a pretty emotional one, especially after the terrorists gave a 7-day ultimatum. They also say that the terrorists have opened up a channel between them and the families of those that they have abducted. How seriously do you think the federal government is taking this threat?
With what happened, I think, in the last 48 hours, a journalist, a publisher in Kaduna, first broke this news that the terrorists contacted him and they made their demands known. So part of their demands was the release of 8 of their kids. Indeed. You understand? So when I saw that story, I said, okay, maybe the federal government at last is doing something. That is one. And secondly, time is of essence here.
Indeed.
These people have spent 2 months in custody. And the federal government, whatever they are doing, the families of those hostages should be at least in the know of some of those things that they are doing. One is I don't want to say it, the kidnapping of the sons and daughters of some of the terrorists. So we learned that even terrorists bother about their kids for the first time. If you hear the Hausa conversation between the Kaduna publisher and the terrorists, they say that the terrorist was even heard on the audio saying that some of the kids are even 1 year old, 3 year old. You understand? The federal government should, as a matter of urgency, devise all means, including hiring foreign mercenary, if they are going to conduct an operation. Because apart from the demand for the release of these kids who are being held in one orphanage or the other, they are equally demanding the release of their commanders. If their commanders, some of them, they have blood stained in their hands. Some of them are combatant people. So if there is need to hire a foreign mercenary to conduct an operation to release these people, let it be. Yeah, there may be some casualties, but at least that's what the government should do. It is not about sovereignty. We can go to Israel, we can go to England, we can go to US. You can hire anybody to free these hostages, because one thing, they are embarrassing the government. And they are touting Nigerians.
2 months, is certainly a long time. Let's leave it there for the Guardian newspapers. Over now to you in Lagos.
All right, gladly. Take a look at Nigerian Tribune, Mr. Abdallah. This is what you find. Why Obi dumped PDP and a host of riders. I think that's like one of the biggest stories in the political space as at this moment. Labour Party, 3 others being considered as next destination, 48 hours to PDP primaries, Northern Elders push for compromise, and a host of others. Don't forget that the PDP also had its governorship primaries yesterday, and you see Makinde, Uba, Ikone, as well as others emerged PDP governorship candidates. Abaribe Ekweremadu Aliyu Gusau withdraw from primaries. Court refuses to stop PDP from conducting primaries in Rivers. We've heard a lot of those issues. We'll definitely be delving into them. But there's a picture on the front page that shows the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, actually visiting President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday. But under that one as well, consensus not ruled out. That's coming from the APC chairman for closest screening panel. But I'd like you to speak to this one. It's just right there on top of the nameplate, and it's coming from Anambra. Anambra murder. Soludo declares curfew in 8 local government areas. Ohaneze condemns killing of pregnant women, her kids. NEF warns against reprisals. Can demands justice. It's a page 12 read. I recall the president also, the presidency releasing a statement regarding that. So looking at all the issues and the recent killings we have seen in that area, particularly in Anambra State, how would you rate the handling of it at the state and even at the federal level?
Okay. I think it's unfortunate how the Southeast has been converted into a slaughterhouse in the recent weeks, particularly with the election of Chief Solido. You know, before the murder of Miss Harira and her 4 kids, you know, there was the gruesome beheading of a lawmaker, as well as the threat that more lawmakers will face the same fate. This, apart from pockets of attacks. You know, so, and unfortunately, I've seen that there are some ethnization of the thing. Like we had 10 years ago in Borno State, it's Boko Haram. So when there's any attack, a murder, the police, the security agency will just, case closed, it's Boko Haram. Well, now it's a non-gunman. Politically motivated assassination may be taking place, but they are being swept under a non-gunman. That is it. And the latest, in the last 1 week, particularly the murder of the woman and her kids, you know, I think whoever the perpetrator is trying, you know, to stir national crisis. Her ethnicity, her religion. Thankfully, you know, Nigerians are more sensible now. You know, there won't be any reprisal, you know, in those days, Kano and what have you. So that is the more reason why the federal government should step in. Let Nigerians know what they're doing. Because if that thing happens again, for instance, can you control what will happen in other side of the country? Or something similar happening in other part of the country? We are in an election year. Politicians, like we know, are desperate. So if the government allow these senseless killings to continue, desperate politicians may key in and take advantage of it. And nobody knows what will happen next. And look at the outrage that followed the murder of that one. You have to condemn it, you know. If you don't condemn it, you know, you will be stigmatized and what have you. So the ethnic dimension of the crisis in Southeast is something the federal government should look into. Well, you can militarize the areas where these things happen, for instance, you understand? Put more boots on ground. Let's see people being arrested. Let's see people being taken to court.
Well, as you said, Mr. Abdallah, the governments definitely have their works cut out for them. Just to mention this before we flip over to the next front page, Borno confirms 32 killed, 14 bodies recovered. It's a really sad one and shocking, especially because you talked about Boko Haram. It looks like there's still a big challenge on our hands. And it was said that these were young people who went to work at a certain, is it a mine, or were trying to get some precious metal. A really sad one. That's the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
Yes, indeed, and I'm taking it from there, Coyote. That's a pretty sad one, and it will have consequences for food security in the near future, and I believe that that's one subject that we'll be looking at. But from there, let's look at the Daily Trust newspapers this morning, and it leads with this story: Lamido's son Uba, Barde, Jajari, others pick tickets, and the writers say a lot more. Bauchi governor appears on ballot despite presidential bid. That's an interesting one. Fintiri Makinde secure return ticket. Exercise postponed in Niger, Imo. Ekwere Madu, Abaribe, Guso, Maku, pull out. That's the one I'd like you to speak to, sir, but let's go to the top corner before you begin to react to those ones. Tears as woman, 4 kids killed by IPOB, buried in Anambra. That's a very sad one. Inducing delegates pushing Nigeria towards plutocracy. From there, let's take a return to the big story. The pullouts, the withdrawals by some of the leading candidates in the southeast states and indeed in the north central, Ekwere Madu Abaribe, citing disaffection over the process through which the main candidates, the candidates emerged. And also the governors that he merged with return tickets could have practically returned unopposed. What are your thoughts about the process that produced the candidates that we saw in the PDP primary elections yesterday?
Yes, now the political ecosystem is being run by delegates. So you saw what happened in Kaduna during the primaries for the House of Reps. A son of the former vice president lost out. He got only 2 votes after spending millions. But we learned that he used crude means to recover his funds. The process, I can say, has been unprecedentedly monetized. Money, and I don't know what INEC is doing, money everywhere. In the case of Kaduna, for instance, the son of the former vice president was reportedly given 2.5 million to delegates. Another one gave 3.5. Another one gave 3 million. The one with the highest money won. The second one, and he got only 2 votes. So it's the same thing elsewhere. Go to Jigawa, for instance. Sulalamido son, who is synonymous to PDP in the state, his son got almost all the votes as a governorship candidate.
Yeah.
His opponent got only 2 votes, according to reports. So that's what monetization of the system. The Electoral Act, the INEC, we have a cap. But this apparent monetization of the...
How do we know it's money? I mean, how do we not know that he's popular? I mean, his popularity has earned him that many votes.
Okay. Jigawa is synonymous to Sulalamido. We all know, particularly from this part of the country. And we're talking about PDP. It is one thing. Nobody can defeat him in that field. Apart from money, the PDP godfathers in the state must decide. Just look around from Benue, Kaduna, Kano, for instance, even though the PDP is in crisis, and some other states, you will see that apart from money, you have to secure the blessings of the godfathers.
Well, Mr. Abdallah, one of the things that comes to me here, my apologies, I mean, you for butting in, you already made it clear, where this whole thing is going, the role of money, and maybe you shared notes with Mr. Rwane, who said, who came up with a caption, delegates procurement process. I don't know if that's what you're speaking to. But let's flip quickly to the front page of the Nigerian News Direct this morning, and it's talking about politics as well. 2023 presidency, mass defection in PDP over Peter Obi's withdrawal. Do you see that happening as well, a mass withdrawal or mass defection in PDP to or from PDP over Peter Obi's withdrawal? Quick look at the riders before you respond. Obi vows to rescue Nigerians through different routes as NNPC Labour Party lobby Obi for presidential ticket. Do you see a mass defection happening?
Frankly, I don't see mass defection because how many senatorial aspirants are going with him? How many House of Reps members are going with him? How many governorship aspirants are going with him? Maybe today or tomorrow we'll see, but I don't see it coming. And like I said earlier, Mr. Peter Obi is one of the most, he's a technocrat, you understand? He has all the ideas. But unfortunately, we're in a country where ideas alone don't sell. For you to even fly a ticket of any serious political party, some godfathers who don't even bother about your ideas must have to endorse you.
Well, you began the other time on this same issue, Mr. Abdallah, my apologies again. You began by talking about the Twitter constituency, and I really wish that there was a voting ward, a delegates ward on Twitter, but unfortunately there isn't any. And now, a quick look at just one more story before Marquette takes over again. CBN debunks rumor of Emefiele's sack. And that's been like, I mean, again, on that constituency, Twitter, a lot of noise on that one. And, you know, there are those who are saying it's not possible for the president to just sack someone like that because, you know, there is a law or process around removing him and all of that. But where do you think that came from?
What has been happening, particularly with our FS Bank, you know, responsible for that, and particularly the actions of the CBN governor. You know, for the first time in Nigerian modern history, a sitting CBN governor has identified with a political party. That is not alone. He purchased expression and nomination form of a political party.
We don't know that.
Okay, it was purchased on his behalf.
Indeed.
Yes, but
and he rejected it.
Yes, but he went to court. Yes, he went to court, asking court to bar INEC and other agencies from stopping him to contest while he still put a CBN governor. That is one. And secondly, yes, the president doesn't have the right, you know, to fire him, but he can suspend him. And I want you to remember that Ibrahim Magu, now an AIG of the police, is still under suspension, even though a substantive EFCC chairman has been appointed by the president. Hadiza Bala Osman of the NPA was on suspension when a new person was announced. Modiba Kau of NBC is still under suspension when a new person was announced by the president. So there is a trend, particularly with this government. I don't know how they do their administrative thing. Somebody is on suspension, a new person will be announced as substantive. So there is nothing, if we just wake up and realize that the president has fired him using that word, it is not surprising. Remember, the Nigerian chief of head of treasury, Mr. Ahmad Idris, is on suspension. And he was fired by the Minister of Finance. And senior lawyers are saying that he doesn't have that locus. But still, it stands.
Well, the CBN has denied that there's no suspension or sack or anything of the sort. So I think that's the latest we still have on that particular story. If we look at what is happening on the front page of the, I'm a little spoiled for choice now, so we'll quickly run through the two of them. Let's look at the Vanguard first. Presidency, Jonathan still in the race, puts APC screening on hold. Ex-president's emergence as consensus candidate gains momentum. North prefers him to other APC contenders, says source in GJ's camp. Bielsa, APC chairman, to consult register to confirm Jonathan's membership. You know, that denial was there initially. So page 5 will give the details. What do you make of the former president's this controversial thing about him still being in the race of the APC?
So I don't know his political handlers. I think they didn't handle the former president's entry into the present political foray rightly. Look at the confusion. A form was bought for him.
And he rejected it.
By Hadas and Al-Majri.
Indeed.
Yeah, a northern governor was fingered as the person that killed the form. In the north, it is okay, Al-Majri and Hadas. But in the south, it has a backlash. Why are you being sponsored by Hadas? You know what Hadas are synonymous to now, particularly in this part of the country. And again, the legal, excuse me, the legal problem. What most, particularly those in the Jonathan is said to be being propped up by some cabal in the presidency, with the thinking that he will spend only 4 years. And with the thinking that, yes, he's a very nice, gentle, but they are mistaken. President of Nigeria is president of Nigeria, and he has experience, he has been there before. He has his constituency. They believe that, okay, he will do 4 years and hand over to them. It's joke, huge joke. You understand?
Well, so the calculations could work against them. That's what the Vanguard has on its front page. It has a number of other stories. It also has your Mr. and Mrs. And Mrs. is talking about swimming. Mr. is not quite happy, but you might want to know why when you take a copy of the Vanguard newspapers. Let's quickly look at leadership for you, and it has this one: amid protest, withdrawal, PDP picks governorship candidates, APC aspirants face delegates today. Finteri Makinde get PDP re-election tickets, and Keshim Uba Barde Mba Obuwari Obumgadu, Kefas Fubara Yaman Lamido's son secure governorship tickets as first-timers. And you also see this: Niger shifts exercise, Plateau awaits results. We've not seen any upsets so far in the governorship primaries, have we?
Not yet, because almost all these things have been, like I say, pre-planned. The PDP kingmakers across the states are working, you understand? And, the delegates, like Mr. Ayo at least say, they are now the Nigeria's procurement. It is their season, so, it only comes 4 years in a year. So, by and large, if you look at the situation, like, no sitting governor has failed to
clinch back there.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. Unlike what happened in the past, where Silva was the nice second time, and Bode and the likes.
Oh, well, I know that we're totally out of time for the papers this morning. We have to thank you so much for coming. Leadership still has a few other stories, just in case you want to look at it. Ban on Okada has come to stay in Lagos. Presidency warns against retaliation. Soludo wants justice for slain mother, 4 kids, as police intensify manhunt after killers. Very troubling development indeed in the Southeast. Yeah. Well, we have to thank you this morning for sharing your insights with us in the paper review segment. Mr. Nuruddin Abdallah is the editor of 21st Century Chronicle and also a former assistant editor at Daily Trust. Thank you so much.
Once again. My pleasure.
We'll take a break at this moment and we'll be back to look into the day's issues. Please stay with us.